Zachary Levi is like looking in a mirror. How are you? Good to see you.
It is, bro. I mean, really,
I
it's
mean,
like
yeah.
your
just,
brother's lot.
except you have height and a little more youth. But it's great to have you back.
Oh, it's good to be back. Thanks, man.
We were just talking about, every time that you're on after you leave, we're like, gosh, wouldn't it be great to be around that energy and around him? And he just you exude joyfulness and you exude happiness. And it surprised me so much to hear, because I thought you were coming on, Shazam 2, going to talk about, co-starring with Helen Mirren. It's probably why he's going to be here. And then I was reading why you're coming on. I was shocked by it. I guess a lot of people have been. Is that the case?
I mean, yeah, I think it's safe to assume that a lot of people have definitely been taken a bit by surprise to learn that so much of the, plucky, happy-go-lucky Zachary Levi that they've known to come to know and hopefully love is somebody that struggles a lot, man, has gone through a lot of struggles. By the way, I will come back and talk Shazam 2 with you at some point.
Good.
We'll cover all that.
Good,
Helen Mirren is the dopest. But yeah, man, I mean, look, I went through a massive breakdown 5 years ago and basically came to the point where I just didn't want to live anymore. And I fortunately was surrounded by friends and family who helped to kind of, bolster me enough to get me to this really intensive, life-changing, life-saving therapy. And in the process of that, I learned so many things. But, one of the biggest was that I didn't understand what it meant to love myself. I didn't understand self-love. People had talked about that throughout my life. I assumed that I loved myself. I wasn't actively hurting myself. At least I didn't think so. And so that was a massive revelation. And then along with that, I was able to go and talk about that in that journey a bit when I was promoting the first Shazam. And HarperCollins heard some of those podcasts and said, hey, we think there's a book here. And would you want to write a book about your time? And as long, I was like, listen, as long as if you feel like this is going to help people, then I'm absolutely totally good with going to those places. And the book is very real. It's very raw. It's a very vulnerable take on my life. But people ask, was that scary for you? And I would say every single time I've ever chosen to truly be vulnerable, it has only led to positive things in my life and the lives of those around me.
Well, Zachary Levi with us, you talked about hitting rock bottom there with yourself. What got you out of it? Like, what is the help mechanism for people listening who are feeling certain symptoms like that?
Well, I think it was a couple of, more than a couple. It was a lot of different things. I went to this therapy. I learned a lot of different modalities. I had a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, a dialectic behavioral therapist, art therapist, meditation therapist, life coach.
Jeez.
I mean, it was an intensive thing. So I learned a lot of things clinically, but I will say that one of the biggest attributes of me trying to, really kind of turning a corner was there was a woman that was there working at this place that I went to. And she was what they call a companion. She's basically like a middle-aged woman who was semi-retired, was a wife and mother, but had deep empathy and was there to, people like myself who were there were very, very, very depressed. And it's very difficult to get very depressed people to get up and take care of themselves in the morning and get them off to their appointments. And so that was her job. And, there was a couple of them that would rotate through, but she was kind of the main one that I had most of the time. And she was literally God's love incarnate, man. God used that woman to be a mother's love for me to just, if nothing else, kick on the pilot light to get that thing going just enough for me to start loving myself really probably for the first time. And I think that's one of the things, that's why the book, I call it Radical Love, because I think that we really have to come to the point of radically loving ourselves, radically loving ourselves first and foremost, so that we can radically love everyone outside of us beyond that. We think that we do a good job of that, but I don't think that we do. Not to get too biblical, but Jesus talked about, it's easy to love those who love you. That's not really love. It's like, are you loving your enemy and praying for your persecutor? Like, are you doing that kind of stuff? Because that's real love. And then to quote Thomas Aquinas, who kind of took it all the way from Aristotle way back before, but love is not like. Like is a subjective feeling. It's like, I like this and I like that. Love is not just amplified like. To love something is to will the good of that thing, to will the good of someone else, even someone you might not like, even someone that you might have and need to have incredible, intense boundaries with. And we need to. Oftentimes, there are a lot of people that are still doing a lot of nonsense and bad things in the world and bad things in our lives. That doesn't mean you just allow them carte blanche access. You're not just radically forgiving and being like, it's all good and you can do whatever you need to do. No, 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 no. To radically forgive, I mean, look, that's another, to quote, I don't even know who said this, but it's the tale is all this time. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison, hoping that the other person will die. And we all sit around with all of this unforgiveness in us because we want that other person to know how much they've hurt us or how much damage they've done to our lives. That's not getting you anywhere. It's not helping you get farther in your life. You have got to allow yourself to recognize that all the people who have abused you in your life are all products of their own environments. Every single one of them. My mom was a super abusive woman, not because she wanted to be, not because she even thought she was. It was because she was first abused by her mother, who was abused by her parents, who were abused by their parents.
You got to break the cycle.
You got to break the cycle, guys. And that's where, that's really what the book is about. It's all that kind of stuff.
Listen, it's like therapy hearing you talk.
Like,
I mean, I feel like it's preach.
And I have to say, I listened to your book, Zachary, on Audible. So I would highly recommend that for people because it's him reading it to you. So I've listened to it all in one day. Very compelling.
Oh, fantastic. Well, good. I'm glad it was digestible enough to be able to get through it. The audio I did record myself. So if anybody is a fan of like Tangled and Flynn Rider, it's like having Flynn Rider.
Honestly, it is like
a mental health.
To hear it in your own voice. Zachary Levi, it's called Radical Love, Learning to Accept Yourself and Others Out Now. Great talk, good information, and such a wonderful springboard for anybody that's going through that to know that you can break the cycle.
Yeah.
And so we
alone.
We look forward to having you back.
You're not alone, and you're not alone, and you're not alone, and you're not alone.
So true.
Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. We look forward to having you back soon. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks.
Continued success.
Love you guys. Always happy to do that.
Bye.
Bye.